If you have ever lived in an Indian city or have found yourself thinking about the state of our urban affairs, then you are definitely going to like A Place in the Shade. It's a rich collection of eclectic and interesting essays by one of India's foremost architects, Mr. Charles Correa. Mr. Correa describes the ideas presented in this book as more relevant than any building he could ever build. He says that perhaps because here he meets us not only as an architect but also as a social scientist and an activist, reflecting and articulating some of the most pressing problems of our times.
That's a very good description of an architect. That's what an architect is supposed to do. You can't design unless you try to understand, or you do understand people's nature, what the kind of spaces they like, why people use certain spaces and how they use them. And then to suggest solutions. I think there's been too much negative feedback from us as public, as citizens, to ideas, and not enough positive things. We don't want this to happen, but we don't say what we want to happen. And that's important.
And you describe cities, Indian city in particular, as a site of social engineering. Yeah. Can you elucidate?
There's in this book somewhere that story from one of these writers said that he's sitting in the BST bus and he sees two people from his village. One is the dhobi and one is the money lender, and they're sitting side by side. In the village they would never be sitting side by side. So I thought to myself, well, 3,000 years ago, the Lord Buddha tried to end the caste system. Mahatma Gandhi, 100 years ago, spent how many decades trying to break it down. It didn't seem to have made any difference. And here's a stupid BST bus, without any polemics, any political agenda, really breaking down the caste system.
And then, of course, there are these, political outfits that say that, go back to where you came from, and they try to reclaim the city.
You cannot destroy a city by bombing it, because once the bombing stops, the war is over, the network reforms itself. So Berlin comes back to life, London, what have you. Even Beirut one day will come back to life. So what are we talking about? You're destroying the very thing that makes the city. The city is this network. It doesn't belong to anyone. It can't.
I want to move a little away from the city and talk about what you had suggested for the disputed site at Ayodhya, which is like, an architecture providing a catharsis to a dispute.
If you look at any religion, you'd be amazed at the similarities, because it's the same human being. Connection between the earth and the sky, what is called the axis mundi. You'll see it in the Pantheon in Rome. The dome and the thing over the top. You'll see it in any temple, the center, open to sky. So if we could build something which abstracted these and as one monument which shows what we have in common, I felt, then we can build all the other things. You can build a temple, a mosque, a gurudwara, a church. I think Ayodhya needs a catharsis. We as a nation need it to go beyond Ayodhya.
Coming back to the city, you have all these single page, double page spread ads advertising housing societies that are world unto themselves, as if they're trying to wish away the city.
What they call gated communities.
Yeah, and you have your private jungles and
And it happens in cities which are already threatened. It's very much the picture of Nairobi, where the blacks are kept out of those. It's even more so in Johannesburg. In many cities it used to be elsewhere. Luckily for us, in our Indian cities, there is no confrontation. I mean, I think the poor people are extremely, amazingly accepting, because they are not excluded from the city. But you start building big walls and making them feel that the good life is on the other side of the wall. Some of them will jump the wall and, of course, try and get in.
Thank you so much, sir, for joining us.
Okay.
It was really great.
Thank you. Thank you.